All right, welcome all. This is part 2 of my Let's Learn How to Play Regimental and Brigade Fire and Fury series. We'll be learning it together as I kind of work my way through the rule book and then try to, 1, talk about what I'm reading or seeing in the rule book, and then 2, also give you guys a visual representation here on the battlefield of the 1860s. With these Confederate and Union troops. All right, so if you didn't see part 1, I will try to remember to put a link into it. I'd recommend watching it, but it's not necessary really to watch it for this part. But heck, if you find it useful and you don't find me too painfully entertaining, yeah, that'd be great if you did that. Okay, so this will be. We're moving into the chapter titled "The Fighting the Battle." I think it was "Preparing for the Battle" was the first chapter, and then this breaks down into 3 phases. And we're going to be using. This is going to be covering the maneuver phase. So hang in there and let's learn about the maneuver phase. And we'll see these more as this turn progresses, especially with these ones. These are the wheel templates. These are the templates and the oblique templates, excuse me, that are in the book, and I've cut them out. It recommends you fold them, but I went ahead and just laminated them on, kept them separate, so you could save space by keeping them together if you wanted to flip-flop. Me, I'll be looking around going, where the heck is the other one? So it's probably better for my brain to have 6 of them instead of 3, but they're nice. Of course, they're going to be a little bit glossy because of the lamination, and yeah. So just wanted to show those actually cut out and ready to go. Do a quick bit of reading here, just in the beginning. The maneuver phase. In the first phase of the player turn, the player must resolve a maneuver check for each unit which he controls on the game table. A maneuver check involves either one or more units under the command of a single leader or a single unit that is out of command. The maneuver check combines the elements in warfare of morale, command, and control into a single dice roll. Procedure using die roll procedure using the maneuver table. Sorry, I added a comma there where there wasn't one. The effects from the table describe the movement and other maneuvers that each unit is allowed or required to perform in that phase. All right, so that's basically a synopsis of the maneuver phase, and hopefully that made sense, even though I was adding in commas. All right, it gives next just a breakdown of the maneuver phase, and then it goes into details on each one of them. So I'll just read through the phase sequence, and then we'll kind of act out each part. So step 1 is replace fallen leaders. So if somebody gets blown away, you can replace them. And then the other part of that is attach or detach leaders. And they can attach to other leaders or they can attach to a unit. Step 2 is to conduct maneuver checks in any order you choose until all unit and leaders have participated in one check. To resolve each check, repeat the next 3 sub-steps. All right, we got sub-step A, select one or more units under the command of a single leader or one unit out of command and resolve the maneuver check by following the die roll procedure using the maneuver table. And for your viewing enjoyment, on the quick reference sheet that is attached in the hard copy book, or you can buy a copy, here is the maneuver table, and you either in good order or you're disordered and broken. And then here's your dice roll that you get, and then here are your modifiers to that dice roll over here. So you're the overall commander, and this kind of brings in some personality and some battlefield stressors all in one dice roll. And then depending on how you as a commander set up your forces, or your opponent puts pressure on the opposing forces, that will modify that role. So it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of tactics, typical miniature wargaming stuff, but it's a kind of a cool little mechanism just to get it all done. In subsection B, it's declare which unit or units conducting maneuver check or charging, and the enemy unit that is the target of each charge. The opposing player must respond to a charge by declaring a countercharge by his eligible cavalry units. And then subsection C is move these charging units first. Charging and countercharging units may meet at the halfway distance between them. All other participating units and attached leaders then may move in any order the controlling player chooses. Each unit must complete its maneuver according to the table effects before proceeding to the next unit. A leader attached to a unit moves with that unit. And then the final sub-phase is move leaders. So that'll be the detached leaders. All right, so we'll get into the combat phase, but your leaders can, of course, get blown away in this game. God, I wish the focus would work. That'll be result in some of the combat. If you need to replace a leader, they can be temporarily lost or basically killed. So if they're killed, you got to get a replacement out there. They're always a poor leader. So you can get a leader back, but then you're like, oh. So I'm sure there's some good penalties for having a poor leader. I think that's in one of the modifiers, in some of the checks. And but we'll get into that more later on. A leader that's temporarily wiped out returns in the next movement phase. So you go one with a backup, I guess, and then you go without, and then you get a new, you get the old one back, or you get the replacement. All right, so leaders can attach to a unit by either being getting within 2 inches of that particular unit they want to attach to, or leader they want to attach to, and if they want to detach, they move away 2 inches away from that leader or unit they want to attach to. They can never exceed their movement rate, though, in a turn. And then we get back into this is the movement rate chart, which is also on the quick reference sheet. And you'll see leaders down at the bottom, like 24 inches in open ground, 20 in broken ground, 12 in rough ground, and then the good road bonus for being on the road is they get an extra 1.5. So a detached leader has a command radius of, so in 15 millimeter, 8 inches. I'm in 28 here, so 12 inches. Thank God I got that right. And then any leader, any unit which is in range of that, 12 inches would be in command. So General Harris here, 12 inches, he's good. 12 inches, he's good. Oh, sorry, Harris. That's like 13 or 14 inches. They're out of command over there. So the 33rd Ohio would be on their own. All by myself. Let's say Harris wants to join the Wisconsin boys here to lead a charge. His command radius now is cut down to 4 inches. So now everyone's out of command, but he can really get a bonus, as you'll see in some of the later on stuff, to really have an impact here. So that's the difference between being detached and attached. You get a smaller command radius, but you can have a bigger impact on the unit you're attached to. Later on in the movement phase, one thing to pay attention to, if your leader has to go a long way to join up with the unit, and then the unit moves afterwards, the leader cannot exceed their movement. So let's say Harris flies across the battlefield, joins that Ohio unit, and goes 18 inches. No matter what their movement is, let's say they could go 12 inches, the unit from Ohio, they can only go 6 because that's all that's left on Harris, because his max move in open ground is 24 inches. So if you fly across the battlefield, just be aware. You're definitely, that particular phase you're in, you're going to slow down your unit you're attached to. Leaders can also attach to units out of their chain of command, so that's kind of cool. If your own guys are falling apart, I guess you could steal your commander from a different area and get him up there and attach to a unit and move up to if you're in a reserve function, you could move forward and add your leader bonus on to a unit outside your own chain command. There is I don't understand it yet, but there is a modifier for that. If you're outside of the chain of command, I think it does add on. You don't get the attached bonus, and it also you get the in command, but you also pay a penalty or something like that of -1, I think, instead of being. I'll look at it better, but you can come out of your chain of command and get and help, but it's not as good as a leader who is actually in your chain of command. Let's go ahead and read this for you guys, because I don't think I did a good job explaining it. A leader may attach to any unit even if he is not in that unit's chain of command. The leader adds 1 to the die result for the maneuver check for the unit to which he is attached, and his command radius is reduced to 4 inches. Other units within his command radius use the same die roll but do not receive the attached leader modifier. A unit with an attached leader who is not the immediate commander of that unit adds 1, but also subtracts 1 from the provisional command. An attached leader also adds 1 to a unit engaged in a charge combat. A unit with more than 1 attached leader does not receive an additional modifier. Example of that is a leader is attached to a unit that also has a brave colonel. The unit adds 1 even though 2 leaders are present. Also, if a divisional commander joins a unit in his brigade, you take the divisional commander over the other guy. All right, this shows you the terrain can affect command radius too, which is kind of cool. Let's say Harris gets all tricky, crosses over this low-level stream. He's trying to keep the boys from Ohio in 12 inches, which he succeeds in doing. But then he's got a unit from Wisconsin going through the woods, a dense forest, trying to sneak up on the Revs. Now this is where it gets bad, because these forests, once you go into there, his command radius goes to 4 inches, so they're out of command. So even though he tried to get tricky and cross the stream and get 12 inches from both, the woods immediately diminished his command radius. Here's a view from the Reaper drone feed. You can definitely see the Wisconsin boys trying to get all tricky. And, or Indiana, sorry, it's the 38th in Indiana. All these units and all the commanders and all these are all from the order of battle, from the Battle of Perivale. I'm not sure who lived, who died in this one. I'll find out a lot more as I continue to that project. That'll be next October, where James and I fight the entire Battle of Perivale on the day of the Battle of Perivale. In Perivale. So that's too much Perivale, it's terrible. But it's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. Still have to paint the units, but that's going to be in a smaller scale. It's either going to be 6mm or Warlord Epic. So there you go. That's how terrain affects command radius. Almost like a fog of war. I think you can also get these rolls. Command radius will also shrink in twilight hours and in dawn and dusk. So that's kind of cool too. I think even snow and rain can do the same thing. There is one cheeky way around the command radius thing, and that is to have all the units in a continuous march column on the road. A brigade commander can basically, it's unlimited, so it's kind of cool. If you had all your units lined up in a continuous line on the road, you could command every single one of them going down that. So that would be a great idea to move around the battlefield. So you could have your boys spooled out for a long distance, and you could have cavalry in there, and artillery. It wouldn't affect it at all, just as long as they're all in a continuous line on the road. All right, let's say Harris is, I guess would be a general. He's brigade commander. He's in charge of, this is his mixed brigade. He's got 3 infantry regiments, 1 artillery battery, and a detachment of cavalry. He's kind of positioned himself here. He has the artillery, the 10th Wisconsin, and the 33rd Ohio in command. Out of command, he's got the 4th U.S. Cavalry And then, of course, he's got his secret mission going on, which he has no idea if it's going to work or not. The 38th Indiana trolling their way through the woods. So get a look at these guys. Yeah, they are. Like Viet Cong, baby, coming out of the woods, going to attack those boys. The rebels probably already saw them an hour and a half ago and just waiting for them to come out and they're going to chop them up. So that's his unit. We're going to go through the maneuver phase of this and see how badly it goes. I've never done this before, so this should be a blast. All right, I found my first discrepancy between the Brigade and Regimental Fire and Fury. These modifiers here, this is in the quick reference sheet on the Brigade. There's no breakdown between poor and gallant and regular leaders being attached. So then if you go over here, this is in the Regimental Fire and Fury. You get a gallant, an able, and a poor leader, or an attached brave colonel, or a provisional command. Well, that's a bummer. I was hoping it was all the same. It looks like it's not. All right, I'm gonna default, which stinks because I really like the quick reference sheets, but I might have to do some snippet tools out of this one and make my own. But I'm gonna go with this for the time being, just because that's where I started, and I like the little bit more detail this one has. All right, so we're gonna pick Harris. He's gonna be our brigade commander. He's a gallant commander, as you can see through the glare. And we are gonna resolve, and I'm sorry for that if you threw up there, maneuvers for these two infantry regiments and the artillery regiment in one go, because they're all in command. All right, so we're in command. We're a gallant leader. We get a +1. We're trained, which is 0. We're fresh troops, so we get a +3. I guess the battery would get its own little bonus for that. And then we're not in any of these bad boys. All right, so we're gonna, that's kind of, I guess the battery will be 2 on top of whatever we get. I don't know if I should separate them. Let's separate them just because they're a battery. Or I can just add +2 to it. Let's just do that. So a 9 + 3 is a 12, and then if you add 2 more to that for the battery, we're gonna get the in command. So we can do a double quick, well, I don't know, they cover it up so you can't copy it. I think it's a weld maneuver or something like that at the double or quick rate. So under troop maneuvers, you get your well-handled maneuvers, and you can do, and they can sit still if you want them to, or they can move. They can do a full move, half move, and change formation, passage of lines. So there are those maneuvers. March by the flank, march by the rear flank, scale major obstacle, replenish ammunition. So then you get into the tardy maneuvers later, and I think they've got the absolute crap ones at some point. Maybe the tardy ones. That's it, just tardy. And oh, there's rout, run away if you totally fail, big time. The double quick you can do one time, 150% of the move. I think you get the, or it's actually on the maneuver table. I'll show you that. And so you got double quick, well handled, tardy, fallback, or panic. So you basically take, let's say we're just going to do a move, or a line, or a what, I forget that what kind of line that is. That's the really when they're in a thin line of just one deep, and then the double quick maneuver is the second one. We're in open ground. We can go 12 inches, but since we're playing 28 millimeter, we can go 18 inches. So in the move, the 10th with Wisconsin, so I had to move up to that stone wall and stop. The 33rd Ohio moved to the base of that hill and stopped. It was about 17 inches. I moved up General Harris to be in between the two, and their artillery battery decided to stay where they are. Now let's try a unit out of command. We'll go over into the woods. So I didn't know what provisional command was. I've already talked about it, but I didn't know what the heck I was talking about on the modifier. This is an in-command unit that is being commanded by a leader not in their chain of command. All right, so these guys are going to be a gallant leader, but they're out of command, so they're going to be using this table here. And they are just trained, so there's no modifiers. So just be a +1 on this dice roll. So they get a 3 and they can make a tardy maneuver. So a tardy move, they can make a half move, they can change formation, face by the rear rank, scale an obstacle. So that's it for the tardy moves. So they're going to move a half move. I like this a lot better. I just went ahead and ordered the quick reference sheet for the Brigade Fire and Fort Fury online, now that I know there's a difference, because I like these rules so far better. It kind of comes down a little bit to the level I want to play at, so that'll come in the mail. I'll just kind of have to do with this for the time being. So you get line, field column, or extended line. Extended line is when they're in the, I'll show you in the formations, but that's just basically instead of having, hang on. So 2 ranks, here you go. An extended line will all be single, all the way across. All right, these guys are in a field column in rough ground. They can do a half move, which would be 4 inches, but would be 6 inches in 28 millimeter. I would class this as dense woods. Of course, before you start your battle, you and your opponents would decide, what each terrain piece is, if it's rough or broken or open. So these guys can slog their way 12 inches through this. So they slog their way 12 inches through that, and there are opportunities to become disordered in there and all kinds of fun stuff. Hopefully we come across that somewhere in the rules as we advance, but there's a basic move. They're in there, I swear. There they are. You can see them peeking through. If I get down, sorry about my knees popping. Thank you, Uncle Sam. I love you. God bless you. All right, and there. The unsuspecting rebels have no idea that those boys are sliding up on them, but I'm sure they do. The final out-of-command move would be the 4th U.S. Cavalry, and let's see how they do. Let's say that hill's a light hill that doesn't really obstruct anything. They could go with the double time 24 inches, is that correct? Well, let's just leave them there. They could go 36 inches really with the double time, so they could really go nutso, almost black powder like speeds. But that's up to they could move. They don't have to go the whole distance. Woo! Yeah, that was flying. They would have been like right in front of the cannon. Would have been really nice way to get shot. All right, so there you go. That's pretty basic stuff. They can do different types of maneuvers that we'll touch on later using the templates that I have no idea, but that's just a basic look at the so far in that maneuver phase. If I wanted to do a left wheel, you can get the measurements here depending on where you want to end up at. There's a 4-inch wheel on the outside there, all the way in. So this is paid for. If you want to use the wheel, it's done by the farthest unit pivoting. So these guys would move the farthest, I believe. So you'd come all the way out here. These aren't designed for units 17 feet long like this, but we'll make it work. So if they want to move 5 inches, these guys would come out to here, and then you'd correspond the rest of the unit. And they can do this move anywhere along their front maneuvers. So that can wheel up to 45 degrees. That unit moved the farthest, so they are 5.5 inch move there. So let's say that they had a 18-inch move, they'd still have what's that, 13 or 12.5 inches to go. Is that right? 12? Yeah. So tactically doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is a 18-inch move with a 45 degree wheel to the left, and that's where they'd end up. And then on the other foot there will be a 30 degree oblique, which you can move up to 6 inches that way, or you can do a 45 degree oblique too, 6 inches out there on the outside. That would be after a 6-inch 45 degree oblique maneuver. There you go. So now we've explained 2 of the templates. Kind of bring a little bit of X-Wing into the Civil War. Got your templates here. It's kind of nice. You can, sometimes it's nice to be able to move guys. Just go, I'm over here. But if you want to, we're doing precise movement here and you want to do everything correct, it'll be kind of it'll be a little bit different for me. So yeah, that's neat. So for troop movements, units can advance or withdraw. They could do oblique maneuvers. We saw that. We saw a wheel maneuver. And then you could advance by the oblique too, which is another one. Just kind of advancing out there to the side using the same template. March by the flank, march by the oblique, march column on the road. And you get the road bonus for certain units and column and officers and limbered artillery. For change formation, that's an option for a lot of the maneuvers. If you on the maneuver table, a well-handled maneuver allows a unit to move up to half its full move rate and change formation. A double quick maneuver allows the unit to move up to half the double quick rate and change formation. A tardy maneuver limits the type of formation change a unit can make. A tardy unit may change formation into line or extended line and hold position, or it may garrison an adjacent terrain structure. And a rally with a lawn maneuver allows the unit to return to good order and then perform a tardy maneuver such as change formation. We'll go over formations real quick. This is a field column. At least that's how I'm going to, I guess, do it on the battlefield. Our lovely the 10th Wisconsin is in line. And we'll do a march column next. I got to thank the 10th Wisconsin to be our performance model for all of these formations. Here is a march column on the road with their brigade commander at the front, being all excited and waving them towards the Confederates that are ready to shoot holes in them. This formation is called refusing the flank to the right. They can be up to half of the stands remaining in the unit can be peeled off and bent up to a 45-degree angle. So the name kind of captures what the formation does. Just trying to deny that enfilading fire. I'm not sure what this does to shooting. We'll find out later on. But this is a refuse to flank, and this can be done in line formation as well as in extended line. And here we see an extended line with a refuse to flank. And that's what that would look like. All right, let's use our imagination and say it's a little farther along in the battle. General Harris kind of brought his guys back together again. The 10th Wisconsin has been getting pounded. Behind them, the 33rd Ohio, they're itching to get in the fight, so we're going to try a passage of lines. So let me read, and we'll come back and see what this kind of nightmare will happen. All right, a quick bit of reading for you guys. Troops in line, field column, or march column may pass through another unit in line. Field column or march column only if allowed a well-handled maneuver. The unit will move at half the full or double quick move rate when passing through another unit, depending on the maneuver effect. Passage of lines cannot be done with a tardy maneuver. Now this can happen when they're advancing, retreating, or falling back. What's the term they use? A unit may pass through another friendly unit called a passage of lines as it advances, withdraws, or during a retreat. Retreat, as I will explain later on another page. If the moving unit or the unit being passed through is disordered or rated as green, both units will be marked disordered. Both units also are disordered if the moving unit passes through a terrain feature rated as broken or rough ground. A unit with a well-handled maneuver also can change formation before or after performing a passage of lines. So that's kind of cool. Troops in any formation can pass through a unit in extended line. That was that one where they were all stretched out I showed earlier. And that also goes for moving through artillery pieces. And you could do that without any risk of disorder, it looks like. When you pass through lines, you have to make it all the way through. You can't do it. And if you got a big enough move, you can pass through more than one unit. So you can just truck right on through. Like we saw that cavalry get that massive move earlier. I guess they could just haul butt through everything. All right, it's time to talk about charges. Say the 38th Indiana somehow got away with moving through the woods and are about to break out and attack this Confederate Union by the bridge. And meanwhile, while Harris's guys were changing formations 45 times, the rebels have come over the hill and they're ready to charge down the hill into Union lines and smash what's left of this brigade. Alright, declare all charges after the maneuver check die roll, but before any participating units are moved. Declare each charging unit and the target of the charge. Also declare which units, if any, are charging with cold steel, which we'll learn about later, I assume. Yeah, I do. I think I remember reading that later on. And if any additional units are charging in support. Only infantry, cavalry, and dismounted cavalry may charge. Note that infantry and dismounted cavalry are allowed to charge cavalry. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. An enemy unit may be the target of a charge if the charging unit has enough movement to reach the target, and the front of one or more charging stands can contact the target. A charging unit must move along a charge path drawn from the front center of the charging unit toward the closest point of the target unit. The unit must advance with the center of its formation on or as close as possible to this path. The charging unit may wheel up to 45 degrees before moving along this path, or it may oblique up to 45 degrees along the path. A charging unit cannot wheel or oblique more than 45 degrees, even if the charge path lies outside of this. Where it gets fun. A charging unit may scale a major obstacle to contact a target within 2 inches behind the obstacle. The target unit does not have to be within the charging unit's line of sight at the start of the charge. A unit may charge in any formation, but cannot change formation before charging. A charging unit in line, field column, or march column may pass through an extended line or guns without a movement or disorder penalty, but cannot pass through another unit in line, field column, or march column. A charging unit in extended line may pass through any formation without movement or disorder penalty. Oh, this sounds fun. More than one unit may charge the same target. Infantry and dismounted cavalry may charge the same target. Cavalry, however, cannot charge a target charged by infantry or dismounted cavalry. Although units must charge along the most direct path, you may adjust the path of each additional charging unit to allow its stands to contact the target. Each supporting unit charges to within 2 inches of, with its center behind the charging unit it is supporting. A unit may change in any formation. A unit may charge in any formation. Only a line may charge in support, and it may support only another unit in line or extended line. I hope that made sense. I'm gonna have to go back and read that one myself. One more time for the cheap seats. Only a line may charge in support, and it may support only another unit in line or extended line. Okay, so that I'll have to remember that one. That's one of those ones that I'll mess up. I'll be trying to do everybody in field columns. Now, bursting through the trees, here comes the 3rd Tennessee Cavalry to charge the 4th U.S. Cavalry, just to show us what a countercharge will look like. Yeah, I'm 99% sure this is completely limited to cavalry. After a player declares which units are charging, the opposing player immediately declares all countercharges by his cavalry units. A countercharge is a hasty maneuver that does not require a maneuver check. Cavalry may countercharge in good order or disorder. I'm going to forget that one. They may not countercharge while broken. Cavalry may countercharge under any of the following conditions. And here we go. We got like 4 bullet points, all right? The cavalry unit is the target of a charge. The unit may only countercharge the charging unit. That's number 1. the cavalry unit is within 2 inches of another unit that is the target of a charge. Oh, that's kind of cool. They can jump in. The countercharging unit must attempt to intercept the charging unit. I have no idea how that happens. That sounds cool. Number 3, the cavalry unit is within 2 inches behind another countercharging unit. The unit may countercharge its support. So if you have multiple cavalry squadrons, that's beautiful. And the last one is the cavalry unit is adjacent to another countercharging unit. The unit may only countercharge the charging unit. Okay, I get it. So they jump in and help out. All right. Or they jump in and get multiple charges against the target. Oh, cool. And they meet. You pick a point equidistant from each other, and that's where the combat would take place. And this book is just full of cool illustrations. So I know some people use boxes and squares, so I kind of like when they use models, so it's kind of fun. This shows all the different examples. And they're throughout the book here for formations and movement so far that I've seen, so that's kind of cool. I just saw that there's a whole basically group of pages for gun maneuvers, so that is going to be my first subset of the movement. There will be a separate video. It might not be very long, but I'm going to discuss artillery on its own, whether it's limbered or any kind of maneuvers it does, just so this video doesn't get too long and my brain doesn't melt, and yours doesn't either. And we'll get later on in some of the combat stuff, I think we'll discuss more what happens with the actual once they make contact with each other. So that is another video. Sorry, my phone's going crazy. The next maneuver is retreat. So several effects on the maneuver and combat tables require a unit to retreat. The retreat distance depends on the table effect. Both retreating and non-retreating units in a maneuver check may move in any order the controlling player chooses. A unit retreating because of fire or charge combat effect must retreat immediately after resolving the combat. A leader to a retreating unit must move with the unit and remain attached. A supporting unit behind a unit defeated in charge combat must retreat according to the same table effect. A defeated unit with only incidental stands in combat remains within 2 inches and must refuse its flank far enough to allow the attacking unit to advance and occupy the position. A defeated unit that is both a participating unit in one combat and has incidental stands in another combat must retreat according to the effects of the combat in which it participated. Now that's confusing. That sounds almost like tax code. I think from what I'm reading from that, we'll find out more in the actual hand-to-hand. But this incidental contact, I think, is when you have 2 units near each other and you attack one and you overlap a little bit. I'm assuming, but we'll have to get into that in a future video. So I'm just reading from the book here. So if that was overly confusing for you, I'm sorry. But hopefully after watching future videos and more progression through this rule book, you can go back to this and this will make sense for you and for me. So right now I just read that and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm making some educated guesses, but I am by no means an expert to answer that question yet. Continuing on, in addition to the retreat distance, the table effect also specifies whether a troop unit remains formed and retreats in disorder or must lose its formation and retreat broken. There are 3 types of retreat movement for a formed troop unit. You get retreat 2 inches from the enemy, retreat beyond close range, and a cavalry recall. A formed unit must move back along retreat path equal to the width of its unit's current formation. The unit must move straight back without changing facing and cannot wheel or oblique during the movement. A unit in march column immediately deploys into line or field column, a line on its line of march. facing towards the enemy, and then retreats. If there is not enough room for the unit to deploy from march column, it must full retreat broken. Okay, so if you don't have enough room, you get seriously hosed, because I'm assuming broken is very, very, very bad. And each one of each one of these different types of retreats is explained in more detail here, which is kind of cool. If all or part of the retreat path is blocked by impassable terrain or an enemy unit, the retreating unit loses its formation and must full retreat broken. Intervening friendly units do not block the retreat path, and the retreating unit may pass through them. If a retreating unit in line or field column passes through another unit in line, march column, or field column, the unit it passed through is marked disordered. A unit in extended line or guns can retreat through other units and can be retreated through without cause of disorder. A retreating troop unit must retreat far enough to pass entirely through another unit. If necessary, it can retreat more than its full move rate and further than the distance specified in the effect in order to reach a location clear of other units. So you can retreat. That's kind of nice. I thought maybe if you couldn't make it through your own friendly stuff, you just get hosed and broken and keep on running, but you're allowed a little grace period there, or grace distance, to retreat all the way. What up, Johnny Reb? They're coming for him. Okay. And I might discuss some of these. So you get these: retreat 2 inches from enemy, retreat from beyond close range, and cavalry recall more in detail in the firing phase, because these are all things that are effects. And also the full retreat broken too. I might touch on that because that might not come up later on, because that's specific to movement and not being able to retreat away. So the full retreat broken, a maneuver check effect of panic or rout, and a charge combat effect of swept from the field or repulsed, cause a troop unit to lose formation and retreat the full distance specified on the move rate chart for a broken unit. When broken, dismounted cavalry must mount and full retreat. If a defeated unit received an outflank modifier in charge combat and suffers a hard-pressed, falter, driven back, or recoil effect, it must full retreat broken. If a unit is defeated in charge combat by charging, countercharging, or stationary cavalry and receives a driven back or recoil effect, it must full retreat broken. That's brutal. The player controlling a retreating unit has the option to lose his formation and retreat broken around a friendly unit instead of retreating through it and marking it disordered. That's cool. The broken unit must have a 1 inch or wider gap to retreat around another unit. If there is not at least a 1 inch gap, the broken unit must retreat through the friendly unit and is marked disordered. A broken unit must retreat the full move rate for broken away from the enemy towards friendly edge of the table. The friendly table edge usually is designated in the scenario as behind deployment or entering points of the army. Some scenarios may include all whatever. Everybody knows this one. Okay, that's enough for me. Okay, so that's a lot of the maneuver stuff. I think we saw. We used the templates. We talked about a charge. Of course, more to come on charging when we get into all of that in the combat. I think shooting's up next. But we are going to cover some of the maneuvers specific to artillery, and I'll probably go in the next video, go more into detail on these different types of retreats, and also the cavalry recall, which was in there too, and touch on the artillery and maneuvers for artillery. That should make a decent video of semi-shorter length. But there we go, number 2 in the books. I'm actually progressing along faster than I thought I would. Just reading this, it sounds pretty exciting. I can't wait to get to the point where we're playing a game. I'll definitely be listening to this myself while I continue to paint by these Perry Miniatures ACW guys. Try to get these other. So I've got I think 12 regiments on the table, plus more cavalry, and I need to, by the time I get done with that, hopefully it'll be time for me to buy more another box of Perry artillery and get another a second battery out for each side. So that'll be perfect. So hopefully the first game, when I get around to it, we'll have at least 9 or 10 infantry regiments, and at least one full slate of cavalry for each side, and then 2 guns. And I'll definitely want to up the cavalry to 3 at some point and get the infantry to 16, and probably 3 or 4 guns, probably 4 guns, batteries for each side. And that'll be the wrap for the 28 millimeter ACW, and that should give me enough to do for 28 millimeter to play. I'm gonna try a little bit of black powder. I'm gonna try a little bit of Pickett's Charge. I've had that rule book forever, and I'm such a huge General Desarmés fan. I want to give it a shot. And then, of course, this, and with hot lead and cold steel. And at that point, we should be able to go, hey, I mean, I'll get a lot out of this. And so that's it. I hope this is helpful for you. And I'll try to put a link. I'll try to remember to put a link for the first video in here, and then we'll see you in a little bit for video 2.5, which will be the cannons and evade moves. And then we'll learn the fate of this Wisconsin unit that went trudging through the woods and got ticks and came charging out into the Confederacy. All right, you guys are awesome, and you have a great afternoon or day or night wherever you're at, and take care. You guys are fantastic. Thanks again.